Matthew chapter 12, verse 6 to 10, we are told that even Paul was stricken with a thorn in the flesh, from which he may never recover. Possibly an ophthalmological disease that caused disfigurement in his life. But he continued preaching, he continued doing the work of God. But remember, previously, when he had that power as an apostle, he could just help this situation or heal this situation and continue. But here, it comes at a time when he is doing the will of God. He is continuing to preach, but the problem still remains of having that flesh within him. And we have some people who normally sometimes describe it as a what? As a disfigurement or a problem that he was having, but still he continues. And whatever I am saying, for example, when we talk about disfigurement, for example, when we can read in Galatians chapter 6, verse 11, it gives us as a clue. And then in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 5 to 11, is a veiled reference. Then from there, we have another gift that was there, which is the gift of tongues, speaking in unknown tongues or languages. So, in the book of Acts, Dr. Luke says, or makes 3 references in Acts. For example, in Acts chapter 2, verse 11, and also in Acts chapter 10, verse 46, and in Acts chapter 19, verse 6. We have some 3 points there. For example, the first one, heard in our tongue works of God. And then number 2, heard them speak with the tongues. Then number 3, began speaking with the tongues and prophesying. So, otherwise, Paul is the only apostle to write about the subject of tongues. We had other apostles like Peter, but they never wrote anything about tongues. We had even other apostles, but they never, like John, but they never wrote anything. It's only Paul who writes something about now the tongues. So, the point that you can allow me to write here is that only speaks on the subject in the book of 1 Corinthians. And then we have another thing that we can refer or we can continue looking at, whereby we have biblical proof of the meaning and the application of the tongues. For example, in Acts chapter 2, verse 1 to 11, we are told, for example, in verse 4, that they began to speak with the other tongues. Sometimes we have some people who normally misunderstand here. They assume that this verse refers to these languages, for example, speaking language like a heavenly language or a language of the angels that is different, expressing words that were not understood. But what is being what is referred here is meaning other tongues. For example, let me use a local language. For example, people, we have maybe, for example, the Jaluos, we have, for example, the Kikuyu, we have, for example, the Kamba, coming to speak a language that is understood. So these people call themselves, that is why they said that, why? These people are Galileans. Let's look, they are speaking the language that we understand. We understand them. And then in verse 5 to verse 6, devout men from every nation